Hello, everyone, and welcome to our part two of introducing Israeli music to the Caribbean. In our last episode, we were supposed to have Tal Maoz, but there was some connectivity issues, and he's joining us today from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much, Tal, for coming on. Let me quickly introduce Tal. I know I introduced him in the last episode, but for those who are watching, I'll reintroduce Tal again. Tal has lived most of his life in Tel Aviv and has recently returned to playing his roots as a saxophonist in the past few years, playing with Mamezet and Carpaccio guitar, where he participates in both performing and recording. Tal has been playing since he was young, as he saw music would be a great tool for his life. Tal is also an accomplished basketball player and has represented Israel at international tournaments, and he coaches kids in after-school programs. Tal was currently in rehearsal, and that was why we weren't able to get him on. So, Tal, thank you for being on today. And let me introduce a familiar face who was on in our last episode and who's back again today, DCM Jakin Mandelblum, the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Israel Embassy in Panama to Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Suriname, and Guyana, and the CARICOM region. Jakin, thank you for being on, and I welcome you for any introductory remarks you may have.
So first of all, it's always a pleasure to be here with you. Nick, thank you so much. And Tal, thank you so much for being here, for sharing our culture with Trinidad and Tobago. I think that I've said this before, but the bridges that are made by culture and by people are the strongest ones we can have. And I think that we're currently building these bridges. I also think that music brings freedom and brings good and light to the world. So I'm very thankful for this kind of activities. I wish to dedicate, if possible, at least on our side, this activity to the soon release of the 115 hostages that are being kept by the terrorist organization Hamas, and especially for Ariel Vivas, a small child who will be turning 5 tomorrow in captivity. So we really hope that we can free them as soon as possible. So with this, we continue saying that enjoy the activity, enjoy the joy of music. And as I said previously, that from the Nova Festival, that we will dance again. We are singing, we are dancing, and we are going to win and to free all of the hostages. So have a great day. And as I said previously, the same word, hi, bye, and peace. Shalom to everyone. And again, thanks, Nick, and thanks, Tal.
Thanks so much, Jakin. Shalom.
Shalom.
Hi, Tal. So we're so happy to have you on today. As you know, we couldn't connect with you on the last one, but that gives us the great opportunity to have a part two, and we get to feature you as Tal, the musician. And Tal, let's start with you began music at a very young age. What got you into music? Was that your parents or was that you?
So first of all, thank you for having me, and I'm glad that it turned out to work for the second time. And yeah, music is going with me ever since I remember myself. I started learning music in the first grade as part of the culture in my family that everyone got one course or circle of activities in sports, and the other one was music. And I started in very young age. At first, I was in a group that played in Baroque flutes, different kind of flutes, that gave me a very basic hardcore classical music education. After a few years, I played in a very prestigious ensemble with this group. We participated in different activities and concerts and so on. And then in the fourth grade, I received my saxophone. I just saw it on TV and fell in love, and I wanted to make this sound by myself. And at the age of 13, seventh grade, I decided to focus mainly on saxophone. I still have all my instruments at home, and I play from time to time. But my saxophone is my main instrument, and I received a very hardcore training in jazz, studying saxophone in parallel of in classical music. But as nature goes, I played more jazz, and up until I finished high school, everything worked great. I made progress. And then at the age of 18 and a half in my case, the military service took me as part of the Israeli culture. And really, I couldn't play in groups anymore, in bands, in orchestras. So I mainly played to the warehouse in my base up north in Israel. And that was pretty much 6 years of my life. Lucky enough, someone donated a piano to the military base I served. And slowly by slowly, I started to teach myself on the piano so I can understand piano these days, but I'm not a pianist. And yet, the piano is like the greatest instrument as a musician, I say it. I mean, saxophone, I love it. And a piano is like a whole orchestra in one instrument. So understanding the piano and the keyboard helped me to understand my music. Later on, I started my university studies and got back to playing in a group. It was a rock band. Local players, different people from different backgrounds, and we played mainly original materials that the band brought. And it brought me back to practice and work on my abilities on my instrument. It was like 2 years with this group, Mahmetzet, Sourdough. That's the name of the group, meaning that if you take the beginning of the dough and you spread it into different pieces, every piece can grow by itself. That was the idea behind the name of the band. Afterwards, I joined, as you said, to Carpaccio Guitar, another rock band, another band that plays Israeli music, Israeli rock. And we managed to stay together for like 4 years. We performed, we recorded. It was a great period of time. Right now, I stay mostly in Tel Aviv, play with 3 different groups, 2 jazz groups, and another one that plays ska punk, which is another genre that comes from the Caribbean, if I understand correctly. The origins of this genre comes from the Caribbean. I'm not sure if it was the 60s, 70s. The music came from southern part of the US, let's say New Orleans and this area, and it got all the way to the Caribbean. And in the same music halls that they played punk, hardcore, heavy distortions music, after these shows, there was another reggae, ska concerts, and slowly by slowly, the groups met together to create this new ska punk genre. And this is the genre that I play for the first time in my life. It's loud and it's very, very mad and angry, and all the lyrics of the songs that the band brings are very political and very hardcore. So this is one group. Another one is a jazz band that is accumulating new materials right now, and we would like to perform and record and so on and live like musicians.
Tal, I mean, you bring up 2 musical genres there that you're primarily a part of, ska punk and jazz. And both actually do have Caribbean origins because a lot of the early jazz musicians actually had Caribbean roots. And you bring up politics, and in the Caribbean, calypso's from the Caribbean. It actually originated in Trinidad, and calypso was originally a political musical genre where they would sing about what's happening in politics or in the world stage. And so the ska punk, it makes sense that, as you said, it's political because that connects to the Caribbean roots of things. tell me a bit about both the jazz. I'm interested. I'm lucky to have known you for a while, and I actually did remember my friend Noemi and I came and we saw you perform one time. I think it's more than once. But tell me a bit about the jazz and the ska punk in Israel. Is it it's original pieces, so it's in Hebrew, right?
So we play in Hebrew, like the lyrics are in Hebrew in this group. It's very, how should I say it? Would like to take the society and really bring the things to the stage, to on top of stage, to people to see throughout our lyrics what's going on, and maybe reflect on reality and ask questions and so on. So as you said, it's very political, and it's an instrument to touch people's minds and hearts. And the jazz is mostly standards of jazz that we practice and play together. At first, we didn't play with a singer, and now we have a female singer that sings most of the materials that we play. And obviously, it's less political, just playing for the music.
Who is the singer singing with you guys in the jazz band?
What do you mean?
What's the name of the famous singer who's with you guys in the band now?
Ella.
Say again?
Ella Levy. Ella Levy.
Ilan Levy. Okay, Iran
Yep.
or Ilan?
Ella.
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 Oh, Ella Levy. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's great. I guess our viewers can go and search Ella Levy online and see some of her music. And as you say, ska punk, and it being political, do you contribute to writing that music? How is the music written in the band? Because it's original pieces, right? Are all of you all collaborating?
So mostly Tomer and Guy from the group. Guy is the bass player, and Tomer plays the guitar and also sings. They bring most of the materials. Obviously, every group member can bring new materials, and there is a new song we haven't practiced yet, but coming from another group member. So it's basically everyone brings materials. We can work and play it. Mostly these guys are the root of our songs and lyrics.
Tal, I want to step back a bit into your family background. You said that everyone either did sports or music, and you did both. You did both. So,
I did both
yeah.
and continued. I have two younger brothers. Um, they participated in sports. They participated in music. Um, Sports is somewhere in the background. For one brother, the music is not. The other brother is more into music and less in sports. I just stay with both.
Yeah, you're very even because basketball is basically your career now, right? And music is still very important to you. I know how important it is to you. Um, how what is your where's your family from, if you don't mind me asking? What's your family background, and what's the kind of music you guys listened to when you were growing up?
So both my parents were born in Israel. My father was born actually in Tel Aviv, and my mother was born outside in a village to a farmer family of farmers. Both my parents play music, but they never received an actual education to play music. So it was very important for both of them to send me and my brothers to get proper education. And I can definitely say that Israeli music, Israeli rock, um, pop culture was played in my home. And later, when I gained more and more education in music, I started to search for other genres and other materials, regardless of what I heard at home. Obviously, when I brought music back home, it was part of the family culture to listen also to jazz and other materials. It was very cool.
Tal, who are some of the Israeli artists that have had, or not just Israeli, abroad as well? Who are some of the musical artists that have had impacts on you as a musician, as an artist?
So I can definitely list a very long list of Israeli musicians, also foreign musicians. Two musicians that I would like to focus is Shem Tov Levi. He is a composer, flute player, piano player. He wrote a lot of the Israeli songs that in my background. Funny story: when I played in the prestigious flute ensemble, he actually composed a few songs um, for a performance that we um, took, and I continued consuming his materials and going to his concerts. And one time I met him backstage, and I reminded him that some 20 years ago we participated in this activity, and really it brought laugh to his face. Another composer, Yoni Rechter, both of them are coming from a very deep and complicated thinking in music, heavy jazz and really great music. Also, they play pop music with different other artists in Israel, artists. So both of them really impacted me because I listened to everything that they released, and even the less known materials, because I searched for them because they are so great. And yeah, both of them are great. Another one that I would honorably mention is Yudit Ravitz, who is an Israeli singer, rock singer, pop singer, and despite that she's not performing anymore in the past few years, she has a big crowd. She touches the heart of her listeners, and really, I love her music.
Tal, one of the great things you're introducing to our viewers to is the diversity and plurality of Israeli music. You talked about rock, you talked about ska punk, you talked about jazz. And that's something that I think will be very surprising to a lot of our viewers and listeners because people don't really know what Israeli music is about. Um, now we have in the background, Tal's friend is here as well, and he asked the question in the chat, Tal, which I have to post to you now. Mizrahi Sephardi music, how does that factor into all of these genres that you talk about? Is it being incorporated, and was it a part of your upbringing growing up?
So both my previous rock bands that brought original materials to the band had Oriental or Mizrahi or something that is more Arabic in culture songs, less in jazz, less in ska punk, obviously, but it's definitely there. It can be heard very, very precisely in different kind of songs, and most definitely, yes, it's part of our culture.
Tal, I know I don't. I think when I heard you play, it was in a jazz setting. So how is the saxophone, and you as a saxophonist, how is that incorporated into a Mizrahi or Middle Eastern sort of sound? I don't even know if that's something you can explain with words, or is that something you think that we just have to hear?
So first of all, it works perfectly, and I personally I enjoy playing and improvising on different scales in the music, and there are different scales of music that have very distinguished Mizrahi, Oriental, Arabic culture sound. So it's definitely there, and yeah.
Tal, no, I have to ask because the steel pan was invented in Trinidad, and is there? I've never heard it played in Israel. Is there any steel pan orchestra, or have you ever heard it being played in Israel?
So I'm sure that it's here. There is no reason that it wouldn't be. I'm not sure. I don't know about it, but I'm pretty sure that it's here. You gave me something to look up.
And one of the things, Tal, you were trying to come to Trinidad. Was it this year? Was it last year? I think it was last year, right? And I hope
A
that
year ago, yeah.
a year
A year
ago.
ago.
I hope that you still come, and particularly around carnival time when the steel pan bands and orchestras are doing their thing, because I could see you just like falling in love and probably walking with your saxophone and joining in with them. As a saxophonist, though, because you are primarily a saxophonist, you've spoken about piano and everything, but as a saxophonist, how does the saxophone specifically, because I see the amount of lung capacity you have to put into that, how long did it take you to master the saxophone?
That's a very good question. I would say that it got me to an advanced level upon finishing high school. And if I had practiced more and performing more, instead of joining the military for 6 years, maybe it would promote me to a higher level sooner. In Israel, you stop your life for at least 3 years. I stayed for a bit longer. And after that, you need to reorganize your life and start thinking about education and working and really building your life. So, yeah, maybe I could have been in another place, but I enjoyed the place that I'm here right now. And I got back to practicing at home as if I was a child back again and playing with other people and listening to other people. It promotes the level of playing. So I have still things to learn and to develop my playing. And I enjoy the place that I'm here right now with my abilities.
Tal, one of the most fascinating things about you, I think, is this marriage between sports and music. And sometimes when I see your posts on Instagram or your Facebook posts with the kids playing basketball and you coaching them, I kind of have this image of you. I never told you this, but I always have this image of you while you're coaching the kids and they're running around, that some sort of music is going on in your head. Do you have music being a part of your coaching for the kids? Do you incorporate the two?
I would first separate what you said because music is always in my head. Even now, I hear the music and it plays throughout me speaking or doing other activities. And really, next year, I start to coach a new team of fourth graders turning fifth graders, really beginning their basketball journey. And something that I would like to bring to the team is the tempo of music and working together and listening to one another. And sometimes I do drills of just playing without talking, listening to the music in the background and playing. I would like to bring the team somewhere closer to synchronize with one another, and the beat and the tempo in the background really helps. You can really see it in practices how it organizes the players and it calms them down and make them focus on the game rather than other uh, um, things in the background. So I really try to bring it to basketball, and it's just another instrument because basketball still is the main focus.
Tal, you said that you were in the army for 6 years, and I'm sure our viewers would be interested to know how come you were there for longer. If there's things you can't say, of course you can say you can't say. What prompted you to stay in the army, and if you mind sharing a bit about your experience in the army.
So when you are 18, 19, 20, you're in a stage where values are the most important thing. And the value of patriotism and Zionism and loving my country was it still is very, very strong in my heart and soul. So after 3 years, I decided to volunteer and go to become an officer and stay for another 3 years.
Tal, that's one of the important things that I think that I didn't expect our conversation to go into. But Zionism, and Zionism has gotten such a bad rap around the world where people don't understand what Zionism is. And I'm sorry to bring out the political Tal because you're supposed to be the musician Tal, but do you mind sharing to our viewers what Zionism means to you?
Zionism really is the how should I say it? It translates the desires of the Jewish people to be independent within Zion, which is the land of Israel. It's nothing more than a Frenchman would like to express his nationality within his own country or any other nation in the world. Zionism really is the desire for the Jews to return to Zion. And these days, people really enjoy to take it to very wrong directions and interpretations. But really, basically, Zionism is the return of the Jews back to Israel.
Tal, that's perfectly said. Since we're talking about music, and one of the things we want to educate Caribbean audiences about Israeli music and the Israeli music scene, we couldn't help but connect what happened on October 7th as well to our conversation that's happening here. And if you want to turn, you can turn it landscape.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I just plug my charger.
Okay. I think it's important for us to connect to what happened on October 7th. And I posed this exact question to Omer, who was our last musical guest, and I want to pose it to you. On October 7th, one, where were you when you found out about everything? And two, how did it impact you, not as a Jew, not as a Zionist, not as an Israeli, but as a musician? I know that's probably a tough question.
6:30 in the morning of a holiday, after I went to sleep very late at night or very early in the morning, there were sirens, and at first I was sure it was a mistake, so I went back to bed. And shortly after, there was another set of sirens, so I understood something is going on. So I rushed to the shelter, to the safe room, and really no one knew what's going on. Another round of missiles from Gaza, it happens every now and then. As bad as it may sound, it's like reality. There are drills. I know what to do. If I'm alone, if I'm with people. And shortly after, news came from everywhere. And really, it was news from people taking photos and videos with their phones. People recording messages to other people in Israel where they are in the villages that were attacked and so on. So you hear these fractions of what's going on, and really I couldn't believe what I saw, but it was reality, and it was very intense. Few hours at the beginning that no one understood what's going on. After that, we understood that something is going on, and there is a very big terrorism attack that we never saw before, but no one understood the scale of what's going on. And only a day after, 2 days after, when the Israeli security forces took control back on the land and stopped the attack from Gaza, we started to understand what's going on. And up until today, let's say 10 months after, we still discover the horrifying details of what happened in this day. And really, it shifted my perspective on things, and it definitely affected my music. But I don't see any direct linkage between the October 7th and the music that I play. If anything, the political songs that my ska punk band. The name of it is Uruguay 44. That's the name of the band. It just brings my mind more to a clear place to understand that something needs to be done. We've been dealing with this conflict for, let's say, 100 years, and it seems that both parties are gaining something from continuing the conflict. And either you take it to one place or another, something needs to be done in order to stop it. And I don't see how it's going to happen in the next few years, even generation. I'm not sure. So at first, I was a true advocate for peace, and these days I'm not too sure that my generation, even another generation, will manage to see peace.
Tal, since you bring up peace, how has music helped you build bridges with other cultures and other people, and specifically Palestinians, if at all?
When I played in the Mahmetzet band, Sourdough, some of our songs was dealing with the conflict, and we had songs dealing with peace and making peace and wanting to have peace. Something important I would like to emphasize is that my culture, my education, ever since I was a very young child, it was only about eventually there will be peace. And we sang songs that peace will eventually come. And really, this is what I was growing up upon. Um, I'm not too sure where it's going from this point, but we are in a very, very low point throughout the whole conflict of, let's say, 100 years.
Tal, one of the inspiring things about you as well is that you travel a lot. And two questions for you is, how has music helped shape where you've traveled? Do you travel for music? Do you travel just because you want to go to some place? And the second question is, how has your very international group of friends, how have they reached out to you in this post October 7th world? How have you navigated those friendships?
So when I became mature in my mind, I came to understand that I would like to travel to places that is dealing either with sports or music, and definitely every place that I will travel, I will try to see the local music scene and normally get to know the local music players and people who are dealing with music. And last year I traveled to the US and I visited New Orleans and Nashville, Memphis, Tennessee. And really that was hardcore music every day, all day long. And really it was mind blowing. About two weeks ago, I participated in a basketball tournament in London. I played with the team came from Milan. The captain of this team is a Christian Lebanese living in Italy, and obviously there is a lot of politics between us. I was a bit nervous at first because I don't want politics to intervene with my love for sports and music. And as you said, you cannot separate it. And eventually, we are friends before the politics. That being said, there was times in this week that I stayed in London that I felt the main attraction. People came from all over just to ask me questions about what's going on right now. Really, I try to explain from my perspective what's going on, and simultaneously try to stay in my vacation and not to deal with the current situation that I just try to get 1 week away before I get back. So I understand what's going on and who are these people who really want to understand and know more. So really, I try to do my best, maintain these conversations, and yeah.
Tal, it's really interesting that the conversation has shifted towards sports because right now we are in the Olympic season right now happening in France and Paris. And what are your thoughts about? I mean, Israel had an impressive run just yesterday.
Best
What are your
Olympic, best Olympics for Israel yet.
exactly? What are your thoughts about people who've tried to politicize the Olympics and even connecting it back to 1972? And do you mind telling our audience a bit about what Israel experienced at the Olympics in 1972?
So in 1972 in Munich Olympics, a group of terrorists managed to penetrate the Olympic Village and understand where is the Israeli delegation is staying, and managed to kill, I think 10 or 12, I'm not sure on the numbers, but some Israeli athletes, and take in captivity some others. And really, this whole event was how should I say it? The games continued while the Israeli delegation was mourning and grieving, and politics is there. I'm not too sure if same attack happening to another delegation, whether the games would continue or stop. Um, Eventually, the games continued, which they were supposed to stop, the way I see it, and it stays in the background of the Israeli culture. We learn about it in school, and we mention it every year. So you cannot separate the politics from sports, and you cannot separate politics from anything, basically. Even Eurovision song contest that happened a few months ago couldn't really separate the political atmosphere that we sang and organized this event. So it is what it is. You cannot separate any politics from anything.
Tal, I mean, it's great that you brought up Eurovision as well because it was really a catastrophe because the Israeli representative, Eden Golan, she had to disguise herself and hide herself from people outside of her hotel chanting for her death, chanting for her to be killed. It was really a scary time. I want to shift the conversation a bit away from politics now, and I want to ask you because I see your friend. He said you really enjoyed the Caribbean jazz in New Orleans when you went. How is Caribbean jazz different from, let's say, New York jazz or New Orleans jazz compared to New York jazz?
These days, I wouldn't really know. I would say that everyone plays the same, and every artist brings his music differently. Um, I guess that in this um, small world that we are living in these days, everyone is consuming the same. And if something new is happening, people would know about it. And really, what you dig into the music and what interests you and what you bring to the stage would be different. As someone coming from Tel Aviv, experiencing different places, I don't really see any difference between what I saw in New Orleans or in New York when I was there a few years ago. Um, I might as well be mistaken, and there are huge differences, and people might hear me and say, "How come?" But this is what I see. So,
Tano, I want to ask you, are there any Caribbean artists that you like and you enjoy who are on your playlist? Um, Tell us a bit if there are any of them that you know.
that's a good question. Is Erica Badu Caribbean? No, she's American. So I really wouldn't know.
I guess that's my fault because we've been friends for almost 10 years and I've not sent you a lot of Caribbean music. So I take the blame for you not knowing a lot of Caribbean music. But I mean, don't forget Bob Marley, of course, the great.
I didn't want to mention the obvious.
Yeah, the obvious. Yeah, I got you. So I'll help fix that situation, rectify this for you. Tal, in closing, I want to ask you: is there anything about Israel that you wish a Caribbean audience should know about, whether it comes to music or sports or anything else? What is there that you think a Caribbean audience should know about Israel that they probably don't know about?
You probably do know it, but we are there wanting to make friends and connect. We are a society of innovators, whether it's in tech or music or everywhere. I invite everyone to have an Israeli friend. We are great. And yeah.
I agree 100%. And Tal, I hope that we could redo this Trinidadian trip and that you can come to Trinidad. I hope that when you come here, we'll take you around and you'll meet Trinidadian musicians and you'll have a great time collaborating. I know that I remember someone once said you were basically the ambassador in Tel Aviv because you would meet every single international. And I know that you are such a welcoming person. And I think that when you come here, I will give you the same experience. And I really, really appreciate you coming on. Let me just see if your friend said anything in the background. Yes. So I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to educate the Caribbean about Israeli music and about Tal Maoz. Tal, is there any specific YouTube or Instagram people could find you and your music on?
Send you a few things and you can post it or share it. I'll send you a few things.
Great. So I'll add that on. Tal, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And I hope to see you soon. And, as it's being said currently, the people of Israel will dance again and the people of Israel will make music again. So thank you again and have a great evening, Tal.
Thank you.